Hey guys, Mr. Happy here with my review of Destiny, the latest game developed by Bungie and published by Activision. I've been posting quite a few videos of Destiny lately, and I feel that it's time to let my viewers know my thoughts on the game. There will be minor spoilers about the plot in here, and keep in mind that this review takes place prior to the first raid, the Vault of Glass, being available. I'll do a separate review of that raid when it comes out. So since Destiny came out, I've managed to make it to level 25 on my Hunter, obtain 2 exotic weapons, an exotic arm piece, and I'm working on an exotic bounty, as well as a couple of legendaries, and currently working on strikes and the Crucible to earn marks and reputation to upgrade my gear for the upcoming raid. And to be honest, I've loved the game so far. The gameplay and settings look and feel great, and I always love teaming up with friends to work on bounties, strikes, and the Crucible. So with that said, did Bungie really live up to all the hype? Is this really the be-all, end-all game we thought it would be? The game that's gonna make people get a next-generation console even though it's on the last generation? Is it everything that Bungie hyped it up to be? Well, to be honest, not yet. While Bungie did a good job laying down a foundation for the series, it feels like they held back a little bit too much on features at launch. The story, while interesting at times with awesome cutscenes, feels half done. It almost feels like it was designed to be as bare bones as possible so that they could fill in the blanks later with DLC and updates. And unfortunately, that lack of detail led me to forgetting most of the context of the story by the time I defeated the final boss. That, and there's also some crazy, stupid lines in the story in my opinion. But don't get me wrong, the missions themselves in terms of gameplay are awesome. They have epically large encounters, and sometimes you even get these special little missions where you'll get something like a sword to slice through all your opponents. I just wish the story itself was more fulfilling. The gameplay during the story does keep it entertaining, like I said though. You have 3 classes, Warlock, Hunter, and Titan. Each of these has 2 subclasses, one of which is unlocked at level 15. And these subclasses allow you to customize your character to really play the way that you want to play. Pick any weapon you want, find gear that suits your preferred weaponry, and collect an arsenal of weapons and gear for all kinds of situations, and then modify your skills to match all of that. It's a system that really doesn't have a lot of depth, but the depth it does have is very meaningful. However, after the story is done, what's next? You're the max level, 20, and you've beaten the story. What do you do now? Well, Bungie's given you 2 choices. You can either do PvE or you can do PvP. Let's start by talking about the PvE experience. They've implemented these encounters known as strikes, which are like dungeons if you've ever played an MMO. They put you up against strong enemy waves and huge bosses. You can access these strikes before the max level, but after level 20, you can challenge stronger versions of these strikes in order to gain gear with a statistic called Light, which increases your level above 20 based on how much of it you have. It's similar to the item level system of MMORPGs like World of Warcraft. There are also weekly versions of these strikes with modifiers not unlike Halo's Skull system that can completely change the way you approach these encounters. For example, this week's weekly heroic had a modifier that increased the damage of arc weapons. While it just seems like a flat buff to your enemies who are going to be obviously using arc weaponry, this effect applies to you as well, promoting the use of weapons that suit this bonus. It's a nice way of shaking up the strikes. However, strikes do have a major weakness: the bosses. For the most part, they're just beefed up versions of enemies you've already encountered plenty before, and they take thousands of bullets to defeat while dealing with wave after wave of additional enemies. Rarely did it feel like bosses were mechanically difficult, just complete bullet sponges that have some additional enemies. Some strikes are a little bit better though. For example, I felt like the Devil's Lair and Dust Palace attempt to make you approach these fights with a bit more preparation, and the bosses I feel are slightly better designed. But ultimately, the bosses don't provide enough variety in strikes. It makes me wish that those modifiers that I mentioned before, like the arc damage one, and there's a bunch of other ones that you can get as well, it makes me wish that I could just apply those to strikes at any times just for difficulty boosts and additional rewards. On top of that, the strikes that do have modifiers do not have automatic matchmaking, so you'll need to make use of a third-party website such as Bungie's website or a website called DestinyLFG.net to help get them done. Or you could just have a clan and a bunch of PSN friends, but not everybody has that. But now let's move on to the PvP, which in my opinion is a major highlight of the game. Now, I am not a huge PvPer, especially in FPS games, because to be honest, I'm not great at it, but my word is the Crucible fun. The game modes are truly bare bones, with control and deathmatch type game modes, but With everyone's gun upgrades, gear, and skill choices, it makes it more dynamically fun. There's nothing quite as satisfying as using your super to destroy the entire enemy team in just a couple of seconds. Not to mention, you can completely just PvP in the game to level and gear past level 20. If you don't like strikes, you never need to touch them. And to top it all off, featured game modes on weekends give Crucible players something to look forward to, just like PvE players. Now, no matter whether you choose PvP or PvE past level 20 to gear up or even to level, the game does feel like a heavy grind at times. If you want to be truly effective, you're probably going to have to do a ton of strikes, Crucible matches, bounties, rep grinding, material grinding, enemy kill grinding. It's a very grind heavy game post level 20, and that will definitely discourage people away from attempting to experience it. I personally don't mind it as a huge RPG fan. It's a way of keeping me playing, and I'm totally suckered into it every time. To me, it just makes it look like I have a lot of stuff to do in this game, but not everyone's going to look at it that way. That's just my own personal thing. And now, the last thing I want to talk about, I want to touch on the thing I mentioned at the beginning of the review, and that's the decision to hold back features or just features that feel like they're missing from the game at launch. The first raid, for example, Vault of Glass, is being introduced a week after the game's launch. That's not so bad. The Iron Banner, a form of the Crucible that enables all your gear and level advantages, effectively giving PvP a true endgame goal, will come out in October. And then they're doing a bunch of other events between these and on weekends having special Crucible matches. Ultimately, I feel like they could have just given us a little bit more at launch and not made these sort of limited events or these gated time periods where we can't access these events. Basically, it feels like they wanted everyone to get familiar with the game, get some gear, and then release the more difficult or gear-dependent features. And honestly, when you put it that way, it doesn't sound as bad. But it doesn't stop me from wishing that these features were already in the game. And that's just because I play the game a lot. I would love to have more features. Who wouldn't really? Ultimately, some things do just straight up feel missing though. I mean, the raid in the Iron Banner is one thing. I was really looking forward to doing those really soon after launch. I was hoping Vault of Glass would already be available. It's going to be available tomorrow, not a big deal. Iron Banner, like I said, not till October. That's kind of disappointing. But there are also just simple things that feel like they're missing, such as the ability to adjust your game volume or skip cutscenes. I am leveling a second character and I just want to be able to skip cutscenes. Those features are absent. I do hope Bungie is able to swiftly fix some of the more common features and not hold back so much later. We can handle it. Give it to us, Bungie. We believe in you. So, those are my thoughts on Destiny. It's a good game, but it has a lot of things that are preventing it from being a great game. Having said that, I am loving it, and I plan to continue playing it as long as they support it. If I have to give it a score from 1 to 10, I'm going to give it an 8. Taking a lot of points off, mostly for the story just being very, very underwhelming, on top of some of the other features. If I was gonna, it's a 7.5 to an 8. I'll give it a score somewhere between there, but I personally, my enjoyability out of it, I'll give it an 8. But anyway, guys, thank you for watching this video. Be sure to like, favorite, subscribe, and share. Going to be posting more Destiny videos as the weeks go on. You know, whenever I have something that I have to post, I'm going to be posting it. So, hopefully you enjoyed this video, and until next time, take care.